Pranakasha livestream. Hey folks, it's Matt at Pranakasha Productions, and today we're talking with Tom Konkol, who is an amazing actor, screenwriter, movie producer, and a whole bunch of other stuff too. Why do I know this? Because I just saw this movie right here, Trouble Is My Business, which is a film noir, black and white, and you're actually the star. You're Drake, the star of the movie.
Played
right?
Drake in it as well because I knew I would show up. Film is a collaborative thing. For me, I'm really proud of bringing together a team of people around that particular movie. That's actually the first movie that I worked with Vernon Wells on, and it was really my love letter to film noir. With my acting background, I've made a lot of other people's projects,
Right.
but you know how it is. You don't want to be the waiter. Sometimes you want to own the restaurant.
Right.
And so for that one, I knew I could carry that film, and I was really interested in that character. He's just the everyman schlub. I always describe film noir as like, that's your friend who's heading for a brick wall over a dame and won't listen to you and hits the wall no matter what. It's the interesting journey into the wall. It's with film noir, it's never a sort of who done it. It's always a why done it. And so that's really, for me, that's what resonated about it. Is I thought, wow, information. You know what I'm talking about? It's like information didn't carry the same way back then. And I thought, wow, with today's knowledge of how quickly like an APB, for a suspect can go out, or, you can do DNA work, what could you get away with now, then that you couldn't now? And I sort of wrote backwards from that idea and then populated it with all those characters. But playing Drake was always on my radar. I felt like I had something to say, and I felt like I wanted to show a side of me. I'm known mostly for comedy, but noir is mostly really witty things said by lower class people.
Right.
It's a kind of poetry of the street, the way they're more clever than they would be in real life. And that's the poetry of it. That's the Chandler, the Dashiell Hammett of it. And I'm really pleased with what we were able to do. We made much out of, very little. The fact that you enjoyed the movie is really the point of me making it. It's like, oh, this wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, kind of thing.
I thought it was great.
Thank you. And for me, that's film noir started as kind of the low budget, rented redheaded stepson of film, because they didn't have big sets like MGM, like the musicals where they could light everything or spend $1 million on a set.
Right.
Noir was very much about faces. And so in a way, it was kind of an indie production to begin with, even though it was a studio production.
That's cool.
Because you're dealing with the spaces, and you're dealing with, in black and white, it's always about the feeling of negative space and space between the characters, and using light with the sound off. You
it was a redhead, but it was a black and white redhead.
Yeah, black and white redhead.
Actually, before we talk about it more, let's just show a little bit of it. So, kapow.
Sure.
Possibly.
I want to see you.
I was mad that you didn't get the chair for murdering a backstabbing little...
What do you want? Who are you?
I found Nadia.
Get out of there.
My life might have been a slow drip, but I was definitely bleeding. And 2 Montemars walk into my office.
I never thought you'd save me.
Catherine made me feel alive again. But Jennifer made me want to stay that way.
My entire life is disappearing.
Where is she? What did you do to my sister?
How would it look with pieces of your clothing all over my office?
Well, you're the detective. You tell me.
I want every one of our men looking for Drake. We still got that book. You're a missing person. You always were. Nobody's gonna come and find you because nobody cares.
With every passing minute, I was feeling like it happened in a dream. Like I'd fallen for a ghost.
You might want to get your door fixed. Someone might break in.
Okay, so there it is. So for me, I think of it as sort of like a Columbo. That's your Drake character type of guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Which I love Columbo.
yeah, and it's like I really immediately liked this movie because it had so much style in it, right?
Yeah.
So, and I really got into the fact that it was in black and white. And the thing that got me really early on was the business with the shadows of like, like the shadow of
Yes.
the fan on the back wall, and then like the headlights of cars driving by
Yes.
that like that was that how was that like special effects with CGI, or did you just do that with lighting?
A lot of it was practical. Some of it wasn't possible to do practical. I sort of worked on a lighting plot. I had these two DPs. One worked on the earlier segment of it. Another worked on a later segment. It was Jesse
Director of
and PJ.
photography. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really designed it around light and the feeling because again, it's expressionism. It's feeling the space that the character's in. His office is his cocoon, but
Right.
there's always these outside threats. So the fact that light and shadow is constantly playing over him is not only the practical, there was no air conditioning back then, but it's also symbolic. Every time someone's thrown into shadow or shadow, you'll notice at the very beginning of the film, when her shadow eclipses his face, or rather his name and then his face, when she walks up to the door, you actually see her shadow eclipsing everything. Well, that's her shadow passing over his life. He's been evicted from his own life, literally the eviction notice, but also he's no longer really living a normal life. He's outside of it because he was framed. Spoiler alert, he got framed for the death of someone that he wasn't able to rescue. It ended up actually being this particular police detective that did it because the police were kind of run like a gang in the 40s. And so I tried to say, how could I, with light or with shadow and movement of light, how do I convey the kind of uneasiness of it, or also the kind of, it's like music. It's like you have sort of a majestic melancholy. And that majestic melancholy is a profusion of the sound of the music. It's a minor key. You've got the light. It has this sort of encroachment into it. You get light and shadow. It's hiding things. You don't know what's around the corner. And I tried to evoke that in a sort of motivated and unmotivated way. And when I say that, people always go, well, hey, where's this shadow coming from? Or where's this thing come from? And I go, hey, same place as the music. It's like music's
It just
on
is.
top of it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It exists. And the characters aren't reacting to it because that's their reality. And for me, it was much more about how do I be faithful to that 40s look? How do I make something look like it's intentional when it may be a budget consideration? It may be me simply going, well, at the end of the day, this is about her face, and seeing them fighting is the least important thing. It's more important to see her kind of get this delicious kind of orgasmic feel watching these two guys fight in the office. She's sort of like, I'm digging this because I'm playing one against the other here. And you find out later why she's happy that they're fighting and he's going to do away with one of them. But the reason I cut to her and had the shadows of them fighting rather than actually have the action sequence, in the old days, it'd be like, "Ugh, we don't have money to do a fight here. Let's go to it." But actually, that's the cool thing because your brain fills in what happens anyway. And it's
Right.
actually cooler to be expressionist with it.
Right,
So
because
that aesthetic, yeah.
it's like in a radio show where like the sound effects can paint this amazing thing that you could actually never really do visually. If it's
That
a
is
good
true.
radio show, it's the same thing because it's all in your imagination.
Yeah, and I've been
Yeah.
learning from that. I have a thing called Mindstream, which is Mindstream Audio, and I do audio fiction podcasts.
Oh, cool.
So I'll recreate, either The Shadow, or I've been doing a comedy series based on the original Flash Gordon series, Sherlock Holmes, all these different Dracula. I did Scrooge, all these different ones, and in doing it as sound, you're right. You can go, "Hey, look, an elephant," and there's an elephant. You don't even sometimes have to have the sound. You can just go, "Hey, look at that elephant out the window." You don't need to go get an elephant, but your brain paints it like, "Oh, okay, there's an elephant outside the window." And so the power of sound, I always say this, and you'll probably agree, Matt, sound gives away a budget faster than anything. When you're watching a movie, particularly a low budget movie or a very indie movie, if you don't lavish a lot of attention on the sound and the music and the effects and creating at least an atmosphere to it, your experience of it is different. It's not as good. It's why we drive listening to music. That's our soundtrack. That's the window. That's the screen. So I did pay a lot of attention to that, and I tried to make the sound part of it.
Though I've discovered that these days you can come up with really good sound effects if you have an ear for it and you know what you're doing. Almost no money at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. And you can trigger them too. Like, in the old days, they would have Foley artists, or you'd have somebody that would be in a radio show, like, in the 30s, 40s, or 50s. They'd have to trigger all these on a sound cart, and get these things or walk through it. Well, now with my MIDI keyboard, I can trigger stuff and do live on Zoom, perform something, and actually, here's horses, here's this, here's that. And it's almost like playing that keyboard is playing the sound effects like you would a musical instrument.
That would
And
be
we've
really
done
fun
that.
live.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. If you check out, it's called
For
Radio
example.
Reborn. Mindstream. Yeah, exactly. It's the Spike Jones effect right there. Yeah.
Or I've
So-
got this. And so on.
It's like a really wooden cricket. Yeah.
Yeah, or we've got like R2D2, where are you?
Good Lord.
We're made to suffer. It's our lot in life.
It's our lot in life.
And so on.
That was one of the
Sorry.
first costumes I ever wore. My mom helped me. I was a little kid, and she made a gold lame C-3PO costume, and I came up with wires and stuff on it. And I literally learned to do a British accent by watching C-3PO,
That's great.
which has served me well, as I play a Brit a lot when I'm acting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, can I ask, like, what was the budget for the film? Is that public knowledge?
Yeah, all said and done, we came in at 250,000 is probably the ultimate on it. There's about there's a lot of equity in it. There's about another 100K in visual effects that Luminactus, which is the production company I have with Mike Smith, he's the co-producer on it. We kind of ate that we wanted to do it, but it was a reasonable price given that genre and what we could do, and we knew we could at least get our money back at that price. Yeah.
Wow, 200 grand for for visual effects. Wow.
Yeah.
And that was
And
just
there's
CGI type of stuff, or?
Tons, yeah. There's tons of composites, CGI. There's as many effects in that movie as there is the original Star Wars.
Wow. Okay, so you did a lot of it on green screens then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know about
Okay.
green screens. And there was a lot of augmenting set extensions on green screen that needed to be-
Great. Oh, I had no
Well-
idea. It all looked completely real. I had no idea
Thank
that
you.
that
Yeah,
was fake.
some of it
Yeah.
just LA isn't the same anymore. I had to change some of it to get us back to where we needed to be.
Right.
So sometimes I would composite on a green screen outdoors.
Cool.
Yeah. So
See,
there's
that's
a-
what's really those are the best special effects, are the ones that you never even notice.
Yeah.
They're so
Yeah.
good that nobody even notices.
The scene where
Yeah.
his rival detective friend comes in, after he gets out of the bed and there's the blood in the bed and everything.
Uh-huh.
That house is actually kind of a 70s. It was a 70s house with a 70s kitchen. All of those rooms were replaced by 30s and 40s looking rooms in the background of it. And there wasn't even stained glass in the window of the door when it opens. So
Yeah.
those things you don't notice. You're like, oh, he's just standing in a house. It's no big deal. Or he's standing in an office. I believe that, but I'm in a house that's completely wrong for the period. And then we removed all the appliances and all the other stuff through visual effects.
Okay, now I have to go back and watch and see if there's camera motion or if everything's static.
There's
Stuff like that.
there's mostly there's a few lockdown shots, but there's some motion in there. Yeah.
Okay, so you had to
Yeah.
use like After Effects or something like that to
Oh yeah, we
do it.
motion tracked a lot of stuff in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, it's all
I
in the
didn't
service
even
of creating.
I never even occurred to me. I thought the whole thing was practical sets.
Yeah. A
Wow.
lot of it is a mix. I would, if there was something that was not period appropriate, I would get rid of it. Or if there was something that just wasn't practical to film in, I would have to augment it or get rid of it and put something else in. But there are a lot of just elegant little grace notes and things that you would think, oh, well, that's just there, but it isn't.
Right. It's just
And that was kind of fun. That was for me, that was in service of like, how do I world build this with very little resources, but once you have the costumes and cars, create a sense of place faster than anything. So once I
right.
had some cars, some of the
Yeah.
cars
Tell us where you got the
looked like
cars
you were-
from.
Okay, well, there's a
Yeah.
place. It's an automobile driving museum, and you can go down. It's near Orange County. You can go down and essentially pick out a couple of cars, and the docent for it will take you and drive you around.
Oh,
So I
cool.
engaged the guy who owned it in this, and I said, "Hey, trying to do this." I explained my vision for it. He knew we were really serious, and we had some quality footage we could show him, and he goes, okay, come on down, but I'll give you, a couple of days down here, but my guy will drive you around and you can drive whatever you want. So I picked out the exact cars that I wanted, and they
Okay.
were kind enough to move everything around. And a lot of that was shot right there in the museum or around the museum in their parking lot,
Oh,
driving around. Yeah, and having those cars made all the difference.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it really gave a sense of place. That and the
Yeah.
costume. Yeah.
Costumes and the actors.
Yes.
I thought your actors were superb.
Thank you. They're a good bunch.
They were all,
Yeah.
and they hit the genre. It's interesting because it's interesting how Drake, like the way you played Drake was really, really subtle, I thought. And,
Yeah, he's
and
a
all the
dry
rest of the
guy.
actors,
Yeah.
they exaggerated more, and they were a little more, a little bit more comic book, let's say.
Yes, a little
But
more
it worked so
melodramatic.
good the way they
Yeah.
all did it. They didn't overdo it. They did it just enough to
Yeah.
just make it really stylish. I really dug all their performances.
Thank you. You know what?
Yeah.
The guide for that was like Maltese Falcon. You'll notice that the core, the center, the kind of I always say he's the knight with rusted armor is your detective. But then you get a
Right.
Sidney Greenstreet, you get a Peter Lorre, you get all those actors, and they are iconic and they are melodramatic. They're just slightly heightened versions of people, but they populate around him, and it can work.
Right.
That if you tonally get everybody on the same page and they understand, like the character Johnny, the guy who's like, "Hey, I don't work, I'm her fella."
Right,
There's
yeah.
that guy in the 40s was a real icon. That was a trope. That was an archetype. The gangster or the mother, for
Right.
example.
The mother,
She
yeah.
would have been, an older sort of Lauren Bacall type character. She has that voice and that biting sort of ascetic elegance to her.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it needed. And so I'd cast each person. I knew their skill sets because as an
Okay.
actor, I'd worked with them for years.
Oh, okay.
And people like Dave Beeler, who played Lou McDonald, the partner, I'd have him practice, like, I want you to flip your hat up with one foot and catch it on there. And we got him in
Yeah,
one
that
take.
was so good.
Got him in one take. We couldn't
Wow.
believe it. It was like 1, 2, 3, out the door. I held my breath, and then the minute he walked out the door, we all burst out laughing because it was like perfect. And
That's cool.
the thing that gives away these things, Matt, the fastest is what you just said. The actors have to be in that mode of just straddling the edge. They can't feel contemporary. They can't like drop in a couple like, oh man, or these different things. You have
Right.
to watch them because that language is the same as Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be of your time. Their body language. There are things I would catch people occasionally doing something that was contemporary or you wouldn't do.
Okay.
Or Brittany as the femme fatale. There
Mm-hmm.
was a way that women carried themselves that now women would be a lot sassier, girl bossy, whatever. You
Right.
can't do that. In the 40s, it had to be that kind of icy assertiveness, but she, she weaponized sexuality.
Yeah, she nailed it. I mean, they also,
Yeah.
did you have to direct them a lot to get those performances, or were they?
I talked to them a lot before we started filming. I think here's the thing: as an actor, I know how it feels to be on the other side of the camera, where you're kind of guessing what the director wants.
Okay.
And so I talked to him a lot about it, and we went through the script and we'd read it over and over again and talk about it before we filmed. So by the time we were there, it was very subtle adjustments and and me not getting in their way.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of directing is just waiting for the happy accident, keeping them covered. Excuse me, let me get some water.
Sure.
I know we'll cut that out.
Yeah. Leave it in. We're real people. We have
leave
to
it
have
in,
water.
The thing about directing for me is knowing there's two things: knowing where to put the camera to get coverage and tell the story, and then knowing what the actor needs to hear to do their best. Some people like feedback, some people like it at the end, some like during, some
Right.
people you let them go,
Okay.
And so I always ask, how do you like to be directed
Hmm.
of an actor? And they'll look at you like, well, I'd never get to ask that question. It's like, actually, I like to work this way. And you'll be surprised how much it shortens the distance you have to go. Because once they feel like, well, this guy cares like how I like to get notes or feedback, okay, and they'll give you the A game. And since I was acting in it, there was so much trust. What I threw out, I was in almost every scene and I memorized everybody's part and everybody's lines. So when we got stuck with something, I knew what they needed to hear and they knew what I needed to hear to get back on track.
That's
And
amazing.
so it was
Yes.
an interesting exercise, but I'll tell you, it's a muscle I love because now more than ever, I can direct something and keep a sort of omniscient out of my body feeling, overlooking the whole thing, and then
Cool.
just let it go and do the performance while I'm doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so like well, did you let people do like alternate takes, or was it always just right on the script type of stuff?
If I found something I really liked, I might underline it, or there might be an alt. But in this, we didn't have the luxury. There were no scenes that I shot that aren't in this film.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Whole thing was in
and
there.
the whole thing. Well, I just didn't have that luxury.
So how do you do it? Like, I mean, like, so you're in the scene, you shoot it, then do you run over and look at what was just put on the camera, and then you run back to your spot and try another take type of thing? Is that how it would work?
Sometimes standing there that you got it, and
Okay.
and I will check the first, sometimes you don't have time. So I'll check the first 20 seconds or 30 seconds to make sure focus was good, to make sure light was good or whatever sound. If it's a performance issue, I might watch the first take, but then I know how it looks, so I don't need to see it through the camera.
Okay.
I can record that in my head, and I know we're like this on you, and I'm on here, and I very rarely will sit there and watch the whole thing back after we've got it
Interesting.
once.
That sounds so hard. Because I mean, like in my show, I direct my show and I'm a star in it too. But the thing is mine is all green screens, and it's all like I just shoot my own stuff when I have time. So when I'm shooting my own stuff, I can just worry about acting, except for
Yeah.
the camera angles and stuff. But
Right.
but when I'm directing, I'm just directing. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you can be a director and an actor and hold it all together like that. And also how you can keep your script memorized. I can't even memorize my own scripts. I have to
Yeah.
have like cue cards everywhere.
I did a lot of stage, like for 17 years. I toured doing, I was the artist in residence down at Santa Monica Playhouse.
Oh, cool.
Did hundreds of plays and directed a bunch of plays that I was in. And so for me, like the table scene, where there's 6 people in play,
Table read.
we would do that as an Italian fast. I would have everyone do it as fast as possible in the rehearsal, like just get on the end of each other's lines until it's just like that. Then slowing it down feels like you take the weights off. And then
Okay.
when you rehearse it like a play, you can start to see all the rhythms and the shape of the whole thing. So if I plug myself in and I'm sitting there doing it, well, I've seen it. I've been off to the side and read it with everybody.
Okay.
So dropping me into it is like the last little piece, and I know kind of where I want to be to make it work.
Okay.
It's like, oh, I need to have my head this way. I need to move my knees over so my face is in shot. I know he's going to stand up here and cross over here, so I know the camera needs to go around here. So I'll discuss that with the camera guys. I'll be like, okay, we're going to end up here with a 24 millimeter lens. I want this light to kick this guy here, and I'll draw out all the lighting plots and all the storyboards.
Okay, I thought that's what the DP's for. I thought.
Well, the DP executes your plan, but you draw up a lighting plot with the DP, and usually the director storyboards all the action first and then shows it to the DP. So a good DP will take it and plus it out and do even better. Or in this case, like if I really wanted rain on the window, I'd be like, we're running out of time. I was like, Tom really wants rain on the window. Let's make it happen. And they would find a way to get rain on the window. And that is having an incredible crew with all the grips and all the electric and everything all functioning towards your vision. And when they're all on board, it's like moving a small army.
Yeah.
And they have to know where you're going.
How many days did it take to shoot it all?
We shot it in 26 days.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They were spread out a couple of weeks. We had a gap to get into the graveyard, and to get into the automobile museum had to be concessions of when they were actually free. So it wasn't continuous days that we could get in there. And then I built a studio with Mike. I physically built a studio with 21 by 21 foot curved walls and painted them green to do a lot of inserts and pickups in. And that was in North Hollywood. And then we used Silver Dream Factory as well. Built some sets down there. And we tried to make everything push together as much as possible. For example, Vernon Wells, he had some considerations where he could come for a few days, then he needed to leave, then come back. So I was like, what can I shoot when he's not around? So we would work on that. So it ended up being an aggregate of 26 days, but not in a row.
Okay. Did you have to reshoot anything?
I didn't have the luxury of reshooting. No.
Wow.
No. I unfortunately could not reshoot. It would have been very hard to go back and do.
Well, the production quality was super good, especially for low budget.
Thank you. I'm proud of it. You know, it's more about like, well, how can I make something out of nothing? And how do I make it so that you don't miss it? Whereas, I wish more stuff blew up in this. It's like, no, it's not that kind of story.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a lot of that. It's very much about how you feel looking at the faces and the betrayal and laughing with the characters. And hopefully you're kind of like, wow, this is okay. I'm kind of sucked into this. This is interesting. And it didn't need to have big set pieces to have stakes that you cared about with the people. It's like, well, what's going to happen to her? Or is he going to die in the end? What's going to happen? You want to follow these people. And I think a good script, no matter how much money you have, well, you never have enough time or money, no matter how much time or money you have.
Right.
But you could have something in a couple of rooms, and if the script makes you care a little bit about what happens, you're not going to go, if only they had a helicopter. It's like, I wish they had more money. It's like, yes, I wish I had more money. If I'd made Trouble as My Business with more money, yes, there would have been more scope and ambition. But frankly, I had to make something, tell the story that needed to be told, and I did it as best I could with, trying to put it together on that budget, which was difficult because it's a period piece.
Yeah. And how long ago was it that you made it?
It came out, it would be 2017. So it came out, late 2018, 2019 is when it was released.
Cool.
Right before the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we lost a step there. Yeah.
And the score, the musical score was really good.
Yes.
It was brilliant. And I know I could tell it was kind of low budget because I could tell when he wasn't using real instruments. He used sound vibrations. There were times when he just because you simply can't hire a whole orchestra unless you want to pay $50,000.
Yeah. I love orchestral music. I wish I could have.
But it was very well done, and the composer was super talented, and it all really fit the genre. Yeah, and also, it was quite. See, I'm a composer and a musician too, so of course, I can't listen to anything without analyzing it. Yeah. But the other thing was that there was a lot of diversity in the types of stuff he was trying to do So it was just very interesting and very well done, and it fit all the scenes, and it fit the drama and everything. So it was just very, very well done, I thought.
We talked about it a lot. For me, that's like there's the script, there's the visual, there's the music. All three of those are timelines. They're all telling the story, and I like soundtracks where there's actual leitmotifs, like you actually have characters that have theme songs, and those themes come back, and you're not just noodling or creating a drone, under something. But I was like, she needs a theme. There needs to be a love theme. There needs to be a Drake theme. There needs to be a Tate theme, and that sort of drenched with melancholy, feeling. I really wanted him to listen to John Barry. I wanted him to listen to Max Steiner, a lot of just classic soundtracks, and those were in my head. But I didn't temp it with any music because, well, that's not true. We tried a temp track at the end just to get the feel of it, but I tried not to have him hear too much of it. Sometimes I use music because it elevates everything in the edit, and then you strip out that music because you don't want to pollute what the composer might be thinking. A lot of soundtracks now sound the same because they're temping the same tracks and then going, hey, just match that. The worst thing you could tell is I fell in love with the temp track,
Yeah.
It's like, oh great, now we've got to have this.
Of course, that's what happened in 2001 Space Odyssey.
That's right. And he should have told Alex North that he didn't use his score. He invited him to the screening. You know that?
Oh, and he didn't even know that his
He didn't
music
know. He was
wasn't
sitting in
in
the
it.
front seat. He was in the front row with all of his family, and he realized about halfway through, there's nothing that I wrote in this. Yeah. They never worked together again. Yeah.
Oops.
Not good. But yeah. Like, hey, wait, fell in love with the temp. And a lot of people fall in love with temps in modern movies, and you can tell, they're cutting to the same piece of music or something like that. So I did use temp tracks. Mike and I, when we were doing the post on it, sometimes would be like, let's put a piece of music under it because music makes everything better.
Right.
And I'm really pleased that you like the soundtrack. For me, it needed to work because so much of noir is that attitude and that feeling, and without it, it feels empty. And especially in the scenes where there's a lot of talking and stuff going on, you need a score that underscores the action when they're not, doing dialogue, and there's a lot of dialogue in this. But you also need, to have some counter to even the little beats in the dialogue. There needs to be little pieces of music because it's a conversation with that music that's on as well.
And I mean, it goes back to the operatic tradition and stuff like that, or like like in '60s shows. Well, of course, I know Star Trek. I mean, you'll have lots of times when Bones will raise his eyebrow and suddenly the music will go, or something like that. Little explosions. And it comes off being corny, but after a while, you really dig it actually.
Yeah, it heightens the melodrama. Like the thing about shows in the '60s, not just Star Trek, is the mandate that the writers and the post people had is people were still used to radio shows, and so they would say this Star Trek needs to work when she's sitting in her kitchen listening to it. Everything they do needs to paint a picture in your head, and the music needs to underscore it. If they can't see it, you should be able to follow the whole story. And so if you watch Trek and don't look at it, the music informs all the physical beats in the
music's great.
Yeah, that's why they used to do that.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like when you watch later stuff, like even like in Next Generation, like it's just the music scores are so bland. Yeah, it's just like snooze.
It doesn't have that brassy nautical feel that the original series had.
Yeah, the original has so much amazing stuff in it.
Yep. Well, even look at like the Battlestar Galactica. They did some interesting percussion stuff, but that's a lot of drones. There's a lot of like under that. But if you look at the original Battlestar Galactica, it's da 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 da. There's all this brassiness and a full orchestra. That was the style of the time, and I think it'll go full circle again because I'm kind of like into the brassy orchestra stuff.
Well, I do notice. I interviewed. Nami Melmod a while ago, and she did all the she's done the music for Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and she also did Prodigy. Her music's really good.
Yeah, really good.
And so hers is really interesting. You know, again, it kind of is harkening back. When you listen to it, it's like a movie score. It's got
Yes.
really interesting little themes
Exactly.
in it and
It
everything.
elevates everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bothering to
So-
write little themes and not what I call noodling really works. You know, because not only that, you begin to create something where the music can kind of echo in the background. You may not even consciously notice it, but echoing a love theme over something where it's now contextually completely different. You know, maybe he's heartbroken, maybe it's the lowest point, and that theme floats in under there, and you may or may not register it, but it brings you back to, no, this is different than he's gone somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
this is his arc, and the music can call you back emotionally. It's one of the few things in the world where you play it for somebody and they can feel something right away. It could take you back 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's the power of sound and music.
Also, you can, if you have a scene or a take that's just isn't quite there,
Yep.
a lot of times you can fix it with the sound effects or music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can
So-
take a scene and just elevate the whole thing, and it does
Yeah.
make everything better. You probably noticed in the montage at the end of Trouble, it's a building crescendo, just like finding out. Oh, we're finding out this. Oh, she was draining. It's her own blood. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And that music climaxing with it. That's where the music really comes into the fore, because there was nothing more to say with dialogue. Everything else was just reveal, reveal. Oh, behind the bookcase, that's where the other sister was. There never was another sister. She's impersonating her own sister. You know,
Yeah.
it's that music that crescendos over it. It didn't work until the music was on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you did put in the music, did you find yourself, were you working really closely with the composer, or did you just let him do his thing?
We were pretty close, and I remember the first time we laid the track in, everyone just high-fived watching it, because you get this. I have this reaction, and they say a few people get this. You know, it's a percentage of the population. I get goosebumps when the music really works, like you feel it, and some people don't get that. But I got the goosebumps, and I was like, "Yeah, this works." You know, it's you know, I knew you were Trouble, and Trouble's my business, and that music just hit, and I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's as good as I can do." And it wouldn't have been as good without that music. And that music was the most guided thing. I literally told him, like, I want exactly this. I want
okay.
this is exactly the rhythm we want. This is like the cuts need to hit on each one. If you watch, it actually crescendos on the cuts and dissolves in it.
Okay.
So that was the most guided of the whole thing, because that's the payoff.
Right. Okay. And you were literally there telling him when to fade it in and fade it out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I mixed it, you know, I mixed it a second time when it was mixed in with the dialogue and effects. We did that with a guy named Trip Brock. He has a incredible sound place called Monkeyland. He had Monkeyland Records and Monkeyland Sound, and we did a 5.1 mix. You know, it's got a surround sound. The Blu-ray that you have there is a 5.1 surround mix, and the mix really helps it. I don't know if you've put it up on your system yet, but it's a new experience with the surround.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wild. Yeah, that was a great reduction.
Thank you. I'm using that as the springboard to my next stuff. You know, it answers the question, well, can you pull this off? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, Gus, the reason we know each other, we actually went out to lunch in LA a while ago.
That's
about
right.
A week
that
or
we
two
met.
ago.
Yeah.
And you were telling me there at lunch that you have a project in the works that's going to be down in Australia.
Correct. Yeah. It's
Is
called
that,
Island.
are you allowed to talk about that yet?
Yeah, I can talk about it. We did a little first money in crowdfunding raise. Actually, our mutual friend who connected us. This is unusual.
Okay.
Usually I do a YouTube show and then eventually meet someone in person. You're one of the rare people I've met in person and then do their YouTube show.
Yeah.
But YouTube's been great for me to connect with, you know, my people, you know, the people that get what we're trying to do. You put these things out here. I once worked with Michael Palin, and he said an incredible thing to me. He goes, you know, just do what you think is good, and if no one agrees with you, quit. And I was like, that's really good advice.
Yeah, just tell them to F off.
Yeah, exactly. You just quit. You give up. Nobody likes what you're doing. And so I went out with this idea for Island in the Stars, which is a kind of steampunk sci-fi adventure, very, very much old school pulp adventure. I'm seeing a pattern. It's like old school film noir. Now I'm doing old school sci-fi adventure.
Cool.
And I reached out to people through YouTube, and we had worked all during the last couple of years when everything was kind of shut down. We did a budget. I have a producer, Lucinda Bruce, who is in Australia, giving me numbers and boots on the ground down there to do it. Vernon now is my, producing partner on the film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Mike
Okay.
Smith. And Vernon, of course, being Australian, knows everybody. He's a legend in Australia.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah, if you want to get somebody, you can reach out, and they're like, "Oh, Vernon,
Get
yeah,
Mel
yeah.
Gibson.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's already happened. He's already read the script.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I would love to, as I said to him before, it was like, I would love to reunite them on a scrappy little indie film, like The Road Warrior, have them reunite in Australia and do that. And we'll see if we can make that happen.
Well, you can always do references to Road Warrior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you could. Yeah. There might be one. The other thing though, that's interesting about the Australian thing is, there's incredible talent down there, and the American dollar is so strong against the Australian dollar that I wouldn't be able to make an ambitious sci-fi film, without that offset. The American dollar versus that, it's half and again the budget, and you also get huge tax breaks and equity back from the government, who really supports Australian film. And since this is an Australian cast, mostly Australian crew, there's a lot of benefits to shooting it down there.
That's great.
Yeah, there are some films, smaller films that I would love to do here in LA, or at least in the United States. One called Test Drive, another one called Seward's Gold, another one called Savage. These are, 5 million and under films. And for me, having that kind of resources, like, again, taking the weights off, I'm used to working at, $200K. Can you imagine what I could do with $5 million?
Yeah.
We certainly are ready. We have the skill set. We've got the talent pool. I've got people that I've worked with for decades. So right now it's just really finding enough people like we did, when we went to YouTube, who go, I get it. I believe in it. We're going to put the money in, and we know that you can execute this. It's just a matter of the resources, having the resources to do it.
Okay, I have a question for you. So it just so happens I have a friend who's Australian
Yeah.
who's lamenting that they think that they can't produce a show until they get their green card. And I'm saying, well, you ought to be able to do it, because there's people in the USA that go, to Canada or go to Europe, and they're USA production companies. So why can't somebody from a Australian production company do something in the USA?
Yeah.
So that's true, right?
It should be doable. Yeah. They can partner with somebody if they wanted to start a little company here to accept money or something, or if they just want to come here and produce something, just come with the business plan and show that you want to spend the money. You can get some kind of interim agreement. And just
Okay, that's
shoot
what I
it.
figured.
Yeah, but again, also make sure they look in their own backyard. Maybe they can do it there cheaper.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now they do. Now they're actually in LA
Oh, okay.
on
Well, then
on a different
go for it.
visa. I can't remember. It's some kind of work visa.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, it's specific to a certain job class, which
Right.
isn't being a writer or a producer. So they said
Right.
they can't actually
They'd have
use
to
that.
apply for, yeah.
Yeah, but I said, well, you don't even have to. You just say you're an Australian company, and
Yeah,
and
just
do it
do
like
it.
that.
Yeah. There's got to be a way that they could make it work if they
Yeah.
really want. Yeah.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, so it's going to be like a sci-fi, a bit like Road Warrior. Are you able to say
It's
like
Jules
what century?
Verne.
Oh, Jules
Huh?
Verne.
Yeah, like a Jules Verne Road Warrior. Yeah. all
So is
that
it set in the 19th century?
It's set in a alternate future, an alternate world where the colonial era England and Australia eventually ventured out into the stars, and that colonial navy look, the aesthetic of Victorian and Edwardian times just moved forward thousands of years. So
Kind
you
of
still
like
have
Dune.
Yeah, a little bit, although Dune is much more harsh. Like Dune is more Dune is more almost like the conflict in the Middle East, where
Okay.
it's a little Spartan. If you look at the sets and things are very Spartan. This is the opposite. It's like if when I was designing stuff like the ships and the interiors, it's like, look, if you had to spend 30 years on this ship, you'd make it beautiful. You wouldn't make it utilitarian and Spartan and everything. You would have ornate walls. You'd have brass fixtures. You'd have these things. So it's very much a Jules Verne kind of take on the future. And the logic of it is simply, but for a turn left or right, a particular culture venturing out and thriving is going to carry with it an aesthetic. It's going to carry with it, a beauty aesthetic. Not everything needs to look like a NASA project where it's just, containers and, spray painting the numbers on things. It's like, well, remember ships when they used to put, a beautiful Starbuck on the front and they would be very ornate and laid out by different cultures. What if that moved out into the stars? And so that was my thought, is let's see if that kind of aesthetic moved forward thousands and thousands of years. What would it be like?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun. There's a video on my YouTube channel, Real Deal with Tom Conkle. You can get production stills from it. You can actually watch.
So you've already filmed some of it?
We did a demonstration, a proof of concept. I shot some stuff with Vernon and Emily Coop, who's this Australian actress who's going to be our lead.
Okay.
And the rest is like concept art and the music and different stuff, just to give a feel. It's almost storyboards, concept art and storyboards.
And with some of the sets and stuff too, or?
Yes, some design and ships and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So you can see it on my channel. And there was the original Indiegogo.
Link below.
Link below.
Yeah, okay.
Real Deal with Tom Conkle is the channel, but also there is an Indiegogo which we successfully funded, and it stays open when you're successful. So if someone sees it and goes, hey, I want to buy the ticket now when you guys need it, you can donate for perks now. You can contribute something through the Indiegogo and get access to the film. You get updates from us, be first in to get the Blu-ray, all the way up to being on the red carpet, depending on how much you want to be involved.
Where's the red carpet?
The red carpet will probably premiere at Comic-Con here, and then maybe Sydney Opera House or someplace in Australia as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah, it's an
That's a reason to
Indiegogo.
go to Comic-Con again.
Yes, it is.
So how about
Yeah,
the
we had
Chinese
some
theater? Did you think about doing it there?
Mann's would be beautiful. It's such a great theater. I wouldn't hesitate for a moment to have an LA premiere there. It's
Okay.
such a beautiful screen. I saw Dune there. Last time I was there was to see Dune.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's shot in Australia. So is everybody going to have a Australian accent?
Yeah. It'd be Struth.
Oh,
They're gonna be
wow.
all Australian. Yeah, we're
Really?
talking to lots of people. I mean, we're talking to Sam Neill, Hugo Weaving, a bunch of Australian actors. So yes, and I want them to have that. That aesthetic, that accent, that would be how they would talk. That would be what it would be going forward.
Oh,
That
fun.
makes it exotic. There's not a lot of Australian science fiction, frankly.
And are you going to act in it or just direct?
I'm just going to direct this one. I'm not Australian. You actually can only get 1 or 2 Americans in order to get the tax benefits and the money back. You
Those are
cannot
the
have an
rules.
American in it. Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. They want to employ Australians, and I don't blame them.
okay.
No, some of my other projects, yes, I will be acting in. I that's still my day job. I recently been doing an animated project for Lucasfilm, and I can't say what it is just yet, but it's with
Voice
Dave Filoni.
actor.
Yeah, voice actor playing a villain part in something, and that
Those
is
rebel scum shall be stamped out.
yeah, stamp out the rebel scum. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. That is kind of my day job, and that's how I've been able to meet so many talented actors and enroll them in my projects, like Mindstream Radio or my films.
Wow. Ah, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah, so guys, you got to watch this film. So we're gonna put some links down to see Trouble Is My Business, or if you can always buy the DVD on Amazon, or
Correct.
the Blu-ray, I should say.
Blu-ray, yeah. We had it out on DVD, but we migrated it to Blu-ray on black and white because that's the preferred look, and everyone seemed to really dig that. So I ended up doing that release as a single disc. And
So the DVD was color?
the DVD, we had a color version and a black and white because some
Oh.
streaming services would only show it in color. You know, so we had to have a color version and a black and white. So I was thinking about it when we were shooting. It had to work in color and black and white.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
so for the color, did you keep it subdued? Like, did you really dial back the saturation?
No, I went the other way. I
Oh.
decided to go like deep indigos and blues for anything outdoors at night. A kind of amber kind of feeling inside, but lots of contrast. You know, it had a lot of color to it. It did not. I didn't desatch it because I think that would have been the obvious way to go, and I wanted to try something else. So while we were filming, we knew the color palette worked in either color or black and white. So I left it. I mean, she has this golden dress on and all this stuff. It looked great in color. It's just not the way I meant it to be.
So when you shot it, you were expecting it to be black and white?
I wanted it to be black and white, but I knew I had already gotten from the distributor. They were like, you know, Tubi's not going to take this in black and white, or you can't go to, you know, Amazon with just the black and white. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, not for modern movies. There's a lot of pushback. So I made a color version, and sure enough, some of them it is out color, but black and white's the way to go.
Oh, blast. Are you hearing that?
Mm-mm.
Good.
But no, I
I
don't.
think
hear it.
somebody's trying to Facebook call me, and I'm hearing it with my headphones. But we'll just ignore it. It's going.
Didn't have it, yeah. Does not happen in this dojo. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's really interesting. So, now I kind of want to watch it in color just to see.
I think
What
you
it's
can watch
like.
it on, you know, the app Pluto TV. Pluto TV. Do you know
Yeah,
that?
I don't
Yeah,
have it, but I
think
know what it is.
It's on there for free. I think it's just on demand, like for free. You go in and put Troubles in My Business, and it might be on Roku, a Roku channel in color.
Yeah, I don't have Roku either. I know what
Yeah.
that is too, though.
Yeah. You have the best version.
Yeah, the black and white. So let's go back. I just want to, before we wrap up, so the Sci-Fi Australian thing, like how far in the future is that before you think you'll actually be filming it?
Well, to be honest, I plan on trying to get it going by the end of this year.
Okay.
Our winter, their summer. So the ideal scenario would be, say, September or October. We're kind of boots on the ground, really getting into filming there in Melbourne.
Okay.
We have a partnership with another place that's a volume that we might be shooting some interiors and things that I'm still designing shots and things. I'm very hands-on about the look, the design, and all these things, because I think the more you plan it, the more you can allow for improvisation later.
Okay.
So I'm acting as if it's going to happen by fall of this year. The only consideration would be anyone flaking with money, any things going on in the world that prevent it.
Okay.
Just the normal things that can happen,
Okay.
as you know, with any
But
artistic.
you got the investors lined up already?
We have some people already.
Great.
We're in the middle of doing all the legal, paperwork and things like that, and presenting it to some distribution and to some different actors. And I'm hoping to hear something back. It depends on how quickly they get back to me that I can start making a plan.
Okay, so you are the producer too. You do all this.
I'm one of the producers.
Okay.
The other producers are Lucinda Bruce, who's Australian, Vernon, who is Australian, and Mike
Okay.
Smith. And we may be bringing this other guy in, Grady, who's done a ton of films
Okay.
as well.
So which one's the bean counter that has to make sure all the spreadsheets and everything line up right?
That's Lucinda. Yeah.
Okay.
She's great at that. She's fantastic. She did the first, day out of days, full budget. The budget took almost 3 months to do. It's so complicated.
Yeah.
It's a big film. It's a $21 million film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a
And you
big-
got backing lined up for that?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, that's literally 100 times the budget of the other
Correct.
of your
Yeah.
wow.
Well, this has big names. It has a lot of sets. And remember that will be plussed out by the fact that the American dollar is so strong against the Australian dollar. That puts it into the 30s, you know.
Huh. Wow. Of course, even so, it's still a relatively small budget for a blockbuster type of sci-fi film, though.
Honestly, that's considered a low budget movie at this point.
Yeah.
That's kind of in the realm of, you know, Godzilla minus one, that movie.
Which everybody loves.
Everybody loves, but hey, you
Yeah.
made it for 20 million bucks. And if it can make 90 million or 100, you're laughing. You've made all that in profit. You know,
Yeah.
one of the big mistakes right now is we're making fewer films, but the ones we're making are like $250 million budget films. And
Yeah.
they just can't. I mean, that's not a business plan. It's like, well, it makes $1 billion or we lose everything. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
that's not a business plan that's sustainable. And we've seen that this year. Look at all the movies that lost money,
Yeah.
you know, and it can't sustain. But a guy like me who's been slogging away for, you know, 3 decades, used to working with huge limitations, giving me resources like 20 million bucks, not only would I be frugal with it, but I would know what everyone's job was on it, how we could economize the scale of it to make it work where you won't miss it. You won't be like, this looks crappy. It's like they've done that. The movie Creator was done with the same aesthetic. It was done with off-the-shelf cameras and Creator's visual effects, and I believe the whole movie cost maybe 30. You know, and that was a much bigger, you know, film than what I'm trying to make.
Okay. And are you going to use mostly practical sets, or is there going to be a lot of green screens and stuff, or?
It'll be a combination. It'll be practical sets. It will also be the use of the volume, which is the tracking where you can pre-install a set digitally, and then it will follow the camera and move with you. So say in the morning, I want to be in the middle of the desert. I could shoot in the same spot as the afternoon. I could be on the bridge of the ship and I didn't have to go anywhere, you know, which is great.
Wait, is this that thing where it projects it on a screen behind you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a dome essentially, and the dome tracks to the camera. So for example, if I'm looking in this direction, I got a guy on a horse riding up. Well, if I've preloaded in a digital representation of a photograph of Monument Valley, you know,
Right.
then I could get the horse riding in, the camera tracks. When the camera raises up, the background shifts the way it would if you were really out there looking at it. You could get the guy on the horse, turn off the lights, move on to the next thing. You put snow behind him an hour later, put him in a parka in the same spot, add some whistling sounds, and suddenly you're in the Antarctic and you can't tell the difference.
Okay. And you just rent use of that, or do you guys own that, or what?
Both. We would rent a facility. You would bring in customizations. You would have to import all the things that are projected and what are being built in advance. But you would go to a facility that already has this equipment, in which case one of the places we've partnered with has that and is already currently using it.
Okay.
So we would install our stuff into their system.
Your stuff, meaning your
All the
backdrops
digital
or whatever?
all the props, designs, the sets, the digital assets would go in there and be set up in advance.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it's the same as using I just think, well, then you're locked into what you got. Whereas on a green screen, you can tweak it after you shot.
Right.
But I guess
Well, you can
that's the
still tweak
trade-off.
it. You can still tweak it. You can always recomposite over that shot. In fact, you can even put green as the thing you load in, and you can comp it in later if you really don't like what you're doing. There's different flexibilities. You can always cut it out and put something else in there.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about telling the story. You know, it's like if you can use effects and use things to create things that your brain is imagining, there are a dozen different ways to get to the final result. The ultimate thing is, do the actors make you believe it?
Right.
Does it work for the story? And can you execute it in the time that you have, you know, effectively to do it? And that's where the planning comes in, but also communicating. It's like what I like about that is, when you're dealing with an actor on green screen, they have to trust that you're describing what you're doing accurately, and it affects
They have to imagine the whole thing.
Yeah. However, you're projecting it. At least they get some sense of where they are.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I was just
so
gonna
here you
mention
are.
that.
There's a star up here. You're looking at. You know, look at these mountains over here. At least I know as an actor, I I could do either. Like I've acted a lot on green screen where you're back to being 11 years old playing Spider-Man in the backyard. You're like, okay, the building's here. Okay, yes.
Right.
And you just accept the improv. You say yes and continue. Nobody goes, now wait a minute. You know, when you're 11, you don't go, now what's the motivation of this thing? You're
Right.
like, no, you're Spider-Man.
Well, what I discovered, the trick, and I'm sure you know this, the trick to acting in a green screen is you really have to imagine what you're seeing, and then once you do, then your body will react to it.
Yeah.
It'll just react just like it's actually seeing it, as long as you're imagining it. Yeah.
That's very true. I did a parody show, a parody of like police procedurals called Safety Geeks, SVI, that I did with Dave about, must be 11, 12 years ago. It was all green screen. Like we dreamed in green because we would spend, 10 hours a day in green. Safety Geeks is online. You can see it somewhere. And that's purposely artificial looking, purposely making fun of the green screen. We literally had miniature sets and things that we'd walk through and stuff like that. And it's supposed to look almost like a cartoon aesthetic, but with human faces, So with that, I had to communicate to people everything.
Right.
Literally, unless they were physically touching it, it didn't exist. But Safety Geeks, if you get yourself in that mindset of like Mad Magazine, Monty Python, just silliness, green screen works perfectly because it's not supposed to look real.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we're in this warehouse. Oh, okay. This forklift is falling on my head. You can get away with all of that because I wanted the anarchic feel of silly, radio and just all the things that you could imagine in your brain. But here it is in sort of an Adult Swim wrapper.
Okay.
It was Archer before there was Archer. It is to what Archer is to like a spy thriller. This was to CSI, and we did it in 2009 when there weren't a lot of people doing stuff like that. And it was a blast because you really could, as an actor, be like, okay, I'm going to make this the secret layer. We're going to be in that and we're typing on this thing. And you didn't have to wait for it to be built. It was there in your brain.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
So much fun stuff. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess we should wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to throw in there? We're going to put all kinds of links down in the description
absolutely.
for all your stuff.
Yeah.
And
take a look
anything
at
else?
some of it. Take a look at the Mindstream stuff. I'm really proud of that. The writing on that and the performing. Trouble is My Business, which you've been kind enough to talk about. If you want to put Safety Geeks in there, you get a cheap laugh. I want to thank you for having me on and for being a fan of what I'm doing. And I'm so grateful that we met. And I think your channel's great. I watched some of the interviews. You have a great style, a very easy style, and drawing people out that I think is terrific.
Thank you.
Please support his channel.
Yeah, and you have a
Subscribe.
podcast too, right?
I do. My channel is called The Real Deal with Tom Conkle. That's my
Okay,
YouTube
let's put that
channel.
in there too.
Yeah, put that in there. And I talk about, occasionally we'll talk about deep dives into movies. I put up a lot of my silly sketches and things that I've done over the years. I was a first adopter, I think, in YouTube. I think my first video is from like 2006, something
Cool.
like that. So we've been around a long time, and there's a bunch of silliness on there I think you might get a kick out of.
Okay.
We have the show called Invention with Brian Forbes,
Okay.
which you have to check out,
Okay.
which is on there. We started off doing that on stage. I was telling you about my stage background. We did these sketches, and this particular sketch just always stood out, always did so well live. I was like, you know what? We should film some of these. And we did. And it was one of the first sort of sketches I ever put up on YouTube. And we ended up doing, gosh, it must be 14 shows, I guess.
Wow.
I got more ambitious as we went. But talk about memorizing. It's a mouthful. I play this British insane guy who's driving a science show guy insane because I'm the guest every week on his show, and he doesn't want me on here. And Sir Reginald Bohé No is his character. And it gave me a great excuse to write the most absurd things and then bring them to their illogical conclusion. But yeah, take a look at that. And it's been a blast being on here, and I'm so grateful. Anytime I meet somebody that's supportive and is trying to get something done themselves, you love shooting stuff on green screen, you love doing your stuff, and I admire that, and we've got to support each other.
Yeah. That is the truth. All right. And you are familiar with Star Trek, I assume, right?
I am very familiar. I'm a
Okay,
big
so
fan.
I always
Especially
do
the
this
original
at
series.
the end.
Yes, we have to
Live long and prosper, my
basically
friend.
this and then that. Yeah.
Fantastic creations emerging spontaneously from the space of life.
For the benefit of all beings everywhere.
We gotta